Hey, what's going on, YouTube friends? We are working once again on the truck we call Toothless. It's time to replace these glow plugs. As the weather's getting cooler here, we've had some issues with the glow plug system in this truck. I think I've shared before, I think I got some bad Motorcraft glow plugs, if they were Motorcraft at all. I'm not really sure. I purchased them from Amazon, so I guess you never really know. But in our previous video, we kind of went through the troubleshooting process for the glow plug system. I showed you how to test things using a test light or a multimeter. If you missed that video, I will put a card in the video here for it so that you can reference back to the troubleshooting procedures and kind of an overview of how these systems work. But this one we've kind of confirmed has bad glow plugs. So here's what we're going to do today. Got some glow plugs here. Two sets of them. In fact, there's another set of them here that'll be installed in the engine that goes in Project Frankenstroke when we put that guy together. These are Diesel RX. I've got these in my crew cab, and I've had good luck with them so far. I think very highly of Jim Rose at Rosewood Diesel. He's built my injectors for me, and has been around these trucks a very, very long time. And according to him, they sell a lot of these glow plugs, and they've never had an issue with them or a complaint. So that's good enough for me. There you can see the part number on these. These are the glow plug for a 7.3 Powerstroke. And we're going to go ahead and get them swapped in. Here's what they look like. Pretty much the same as a Motorcraft glow plug, but yeah, I've had good luck with these, unlike Motorcraft here lately. So anyway, let's get this guy opened up. We'll get the valve covers pulled off, take things apart so that we can get both valve covers off. I'll go through what that process looks like, and I'll put a time lapse here in the video so that you can see how it is that I take these things apart. So a couple of things. First of all, tools that I use. All of the valve cover bolts and the studs and the nuts that are on top of them, anywhere you've got a bracket, those are 13 millimeter. So I've got a 13 millimeter deep well. I like 6-point sockets because they don't round nuts off as easily. So we'll be using that guy. That'll do most of it for us. I've also got a pair of bent tip needle nose pliers here. I really like these. I use these 3 times as much as I use my straight needle nose. You'll see me use these pretty frequently during this project. Aside from that, I've got a 1/4-inch socket set here. This guy comes with Torx bits, and it's got all of our metric and standard sockets. Nothing very expensive. This is a Cobalt kit that I've had for probably 4 or 5 years here now, and I tell you what, I really like it. I'm impressed. I don't think it was overly expensive. It was given to me as a gift for Christmas one year, and man, I use that thing a lot. I really like that 1/4-inch set. So for applications like this where it doesn't take a lot of torque to loosen or tighten these fasteners, that guy is the ticket. He's my go-to. The other thing we'll use here is a deep well 10 millimeter socket. We'll use that to actually remove the glow plugs themselves from the cylinder head, and then to install the new ones. One other thing that I like to use is a little length of rubber tubing. I think this thing is, what is that, 3/16, 1/8 inch, something like that. What I use that for is it fits very snugly on the back of the glow plug. So I'll reach down and pop that guy onto the electrical terminal on the back of the glow plug and use that to pull it out of the cylinder. Aside from that, you'll need some rags. I really recommend that if you've got air in your garage or in your shop, that you have that available. Just in the sake of time, I'm going to be using some air-powered ratchets here. They just speed things up considerably. The other thing that we'll use air for is once we get under those valve covers, we'll blow the oil off the top of the glow plugs so that it doesn't run down inside the combustion cylinders when we remove them. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and get started removing everything. So in order to get this done, just real quickly, what we're going to do is we're going to remove the intake plenum here, the boot before the elbow. We'll remove the elbow. We're going to remove this bracket that holds the elbow and the engine cover. I'm going to go ahead and take the boot off of the turbo as well, just to get all that stuff out of the way. We'll disconnect the map line. We'll get him out of the way. We've got to take the bracket off for the dipstick, and we'll just let that dipstick float. That bracket is actually on top of the valve cover, so it has to come off as well. So we'll take the 10mm bolt out here on the side, take the clamp off, and then we'll remove that bracket. And at that point, we'll be real close. So I'm going to go ahead and get to work here, and we'll see how we can do here. Alright, well there we are. Got both valve covers off, and we're ready to pull the glow plugs themselves. So, if you've not been under the valve covers here before, that's kind of what you've got to work with. 4 big Huey injectors, 4 glow plugs per side. So, let's see if I can get the light right. This will be the lead to the glow plug. Pop that guy off. Get your thin-walled socket down in there. Can you see it? It's the back of the glow plug there. Right there beside the push rod. And spin those out. So one of the things that I like to do beforehand is, you can probably kind of see, you get a little puddle of oil right in and around that glow plug. I like to blow that out of the way before I take the glow plug out. If you don't, aside from getting your tools all greasy and oily and messy, that oil tends to run down inside the combustion chamber, which isn't a huge deal. It just creates some smoke and mess when you start it back up again. And I guess if there was enough oil there that it would actually take up the space of the combustion chamber, you could potentially hydrolock the motor. I don't think I've ever had that happen because, again, I just always blow it out of the way. So I'll usually lay a rag down in over here, otherwise it just flies everywhere, and then reach in with my air gun and just blow that out, and that just kind of cleans the oil away from the glow plug, and then we can take them out. So with that, I guess that's the next step. Let's get to work. Well, there we go. All 8 glow plugs out. I just tested them all real quick with my meter, and there's not a one of them good. So very disappointing. Very disappointing indeed. But at any rate, we're going to go ahead and install these Diesel RX glow plugs. There's the Diesel RX glow plug next to the Motorcraft. These are all marked Peru, Germany. So I don't know, guys. I don't know. But I'm disappointed with those. At any rate, a couple of things of note. When I'm underneath the valve covers like this, I tend to double check these wiring harnesses, make sure that everything is firmly clipped onto all 8 injectors. And I will sometimes pop these loose on the inside of the valve cover gasket, I guess, here, and make sure that the pins on the insides of these are in good shape. I just had these apart 6 months ago. I just checked them. I'm sure they're fine here. So I'm not going to take time and do that right now, but that's kind of where we're at. All told here so far, I've been at this about an hour, but that probably includes, I don't know, 10 minutes for somebody that stopped by here and another 5 or 10 minutes for a phone call that I had to take. So I'm not an expert at this, but I guess once you've done it a couple of times, it's not too terribly bad a job. It'll take you longer than that the first time, but it's definitely something that you can tackle yourself. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and we'll put the glow plugs back in here, start getting this thing buttoned up. Alright guys, well we're almost back together here, but I did want to point out something that is a common issue with these 7.3s. You may have saw it when I took it apart, but this intake boot has seen better days. There's still enough of it there that I think I can get a positive enough seal to run it temporarily, but that guy's going to have to be replaced. So there's a couple of pretty decent alternatives out there. The one that I like is made by Riff Raff Diesel. That's a lot thicker and more substantial than the stock piece, and I think it runs about $45 or so. So that's probably what I'll get ordered for this guy. I like to support the guys that are supporting this little niche market of ours, so I'll probably order that from Riff Raff, and we'll get it swapped in here at a later date. But check that out, guys. These that's a pretty common issue with these. Right on the bottom there where nobody can see it, and if you're not real careful when you put it back together, this won't get slid up over the end of the turbo, and you'll have a leak there. Suck all kinds of junk up in there and dust your motor. So watch out for that. The other thing, I'm not quite sure what happened here, but I've got no clamp on there. I'm guessing that that's where a lot of this oil and mess came from, is from that CCV. So we'll put a hose clamp back on there and get that tightened up. I probably wait to do that when I do this, because that's kind of a tough spot to reach, and it'll seal well enough for temporary use until we're to that point. But almost there. A couple little tips and tricks. One, get yourself a big old couch cushion or a pillow like this, because that hood latch is tough on the belly. You lay that guy on there, it kind of distributes the load, so you're not going to break anything, you're not going to crush anything. It'll save you some bruises on your ribs while you're working in here. The other thing is, when you're putting things back together like this, use hand tools. You don't ugga-dugga the glow plugs into place. I don't even put them in with my little 1/4 inch ratchet. The exception to that is I did use it to put the valve cover bolts on. That little 1/4 inch ratchet is pretty anemic. It's perfect for this job. It doesn't make things too terribly tight. I'm not going to use my 3/8 on this though, because it just torques things too tight, and there's no need for it. So yeah, I guess let's put the rest of this thing back together, and we'll see how it works. Well, we've got everything back together except for the engine cover. I think I'm going to leave that off, because I'll just have to remove it again when I replace that orange boot. I had a new air filter for this, so I went ahead and put it in here while we were working on it. So what do you say, let's see if this thing will start up a little easier than it was. Let's see what we can do. So we're going to be watching that voltmeter. I want to see it tick down well below the N. It's a good sign. Wait, start light just went out. Success! Alright, well, success. Glow plug replacement done. Whole project took about 2 hours. Granted, I've done this before, so I knew what tools I needed and kind of figured out how this goes. But gets this truck one step closer to being a reliable daily driver. So I think total cost for this project, not counting the air filter that I installed there, is about $65, maybe $70 with my shipping. Those Diesel RX glow plugs cost me $7.99 a piece. So not a whole lot more than what you'll pay for Motorcraft spark plugs, or heaven forbid auto lights. Don't use auto lights. Don't use auto lights. They tend to swell up on the tip and get stuck in your head, and that's a big job to get those out then. Don't use those. But we'll call that success. So thanks for joining us for this project. If you enjoy the OBS content or the 7.3 liter turbo diesel content, subscribe to the channel. We've got a lot of projects going along with that theme here, including this one. This is what we call Project Frankenstroke. So we'll get back on this one now that we've got this issue with Toothless, the black truck, since we've got that resolved. Thanks for watching.